Hi everyone, welcome to today's cook. I'll just show you what we're going to be doing today. We've got 3 racks of pork ribs that I need to cut down, take the membrane off and season them up. We also have today, quite interestingly, a pork collar. So we're going to try this for pulled pork. I know usually everyone does the shoulder, the Boston butt, but today we're going to try the collar and we'll let you know how that is because it's a little bit smaller, bit better for smaller families. We're going to be cooking on the Traeger Pro Series 34 and the rubs that we're going to use today, we're going to have a combination of the spicy. So we're going to have the bone sucking sauce with the pineapple and heat rib glaze, and then we're going to go for a sweet rub for the other 2 racks, and they will have the apple and cherry rib candy on it, which is really nice. And then for the pulled pork, once it's all done and seasoned up, at the end of the cook, we'll then just add in a bit of the Cosmos honey jalapeno. So what we've done now is I've placed the premium rub, some additional salt onto the pork collar. That's been sat in that for around about 45 minutes or so. So they're ready to go. So the next thing I was going to show you was just doing some of the work on the ribs. So the first thing is going to be some garlic salt, just very light, nice light touch of the garlic salt. Okay, so then there's, so there'll be my rack, which will be the hot bone sucking sauce. So this will be the rack that I'll be more than likely eating. Nice full seasoning. Make sure you get edges. Okay, just give it a little bit of a pat. That looks good. Okay, and then for the other 2, we're going to be using the sweet rub. This is more for the family. It doesn't have a kick. I've just put it into this just to make it easier to spread. This is not the right, this is the seasoning from there. So again, nice coat of that on both ribs. And on that little one. And again, pat it down a little bit, make sure you're getting the edges. Make sure you're getting all the edges. Make sure you cover them all. So corner there. Corner there. The next thing to do is flip these over, do the same again on the other side and let them to rest for about 20 minutes. Okay. So now they're all seasoned up. The Traeger's set to 135 degrees C. I've got the meat probe already attached. That's in the thickest part of the meat so we can see when we get that internal temperature up. So let's stick them on the grill. The first part of this cook will be meat side up. Okay, so you can see there's the bone. So meat side up. Again, there's the bone. Meat side up. And the pork there. Okay, so we'll leave them on now. They'll probably sit on there now for around 2.5 hours at that temperature before we move to the next stage. We're now 2 hours into the cook. We're going to check the progress. I've just took the internal temp, it's at around 55 degrees C. Ideally for the pulled pork, we're going to take it all the way up to around 93, 94, so that it's easily torn apart. So let's have a look. I've got some apple juice here just to give the pulled pork a bit of a spray. That's looking really good. close the lid and we'll check again in another hour before we start making the butter bath. 3 hours in now to the cook, so it's time to prepare the butter bath. Very simple process. We're just going to be taking some brown sugar, spread that out along the kind of length of the rib. Don't worry about how much you use. And then with just some butter. Again, I'm just using salted butter, cutting chunks off, spreading it along. You're looking for to kind of try and cover the whole of the rib. Okay, and then finally just some standard pure honey. This is probably the most important, is the honey. Nice amount of honey in there. Okay, so again, I'll do that on this one. Start off with some brown sugar. Brown sugar smells amazing already before you even do anything with it. Then I'll chop some butter chunks. Again, don't be too worried about the amount of butter you're using. Probably the more the better. Can't have too much butter. And then finally, again, a nice drizzle of the honey. So I'm going to repeat this on the last one, but what we're going to do now is take the ribs off of the Traeger and put them on here, meat down, so that it's the meat that's going to be in contact with those three ingredients. Okay. So here they are, off the Traeger. They're now turned bone side up, so that the meat's inside of those three ingredients. Here's a rack here, as you can see. Looks really good. And literally we will take them over to the butter bath, turn them over meat side down, and then the final part of this really is just double wrap, fold over, creating a really, you want it to be airtight so that the juice doesn't really come out. Okay, so I'll do that for the other two, and then for the pulled pork, what I'll do is I will add a little bit more seasoning at this point. I'll also add some apple juice to keep that nice and moist. I'll then also wrap that and they'll go back on again. I'm predicting probably about for another 2 hours, but I'll have the meat probes in there to check the internal temperature. That's it, all of them are wrapped up. They're ready to spend the next at least 2 hours in the butter bath. What I'll do is I'll check on the internal temperature of the pork. I'll also probably attach at some point the temperature on the ribs as well, but probably leave them like that now for at least an hour and a half. Cool, so I've taken off the pork collar. That's resting now, still wrapped. Leave that to rest for about 30 minutes. So the butter bath went on for around an hour and a half. The internal temperature probably went up to about 98 for the ribs, which is probably a bit more than I wanted. I got carried away watching the football. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is the final glaze. Stick them back on for probably 10-15 minutes. Let that glaze set and we're good to eat. So the glaze I'm using today for the sweet ones, as I mentioned earlier, is the apple and cherry rib candy. So all I'm going to do here is pour some on, get a nice coating. Just the final touch. Go. This will just give a real nice final flavour, but also a really nice shine. You can see where one of the ribs has actually come off already, which is why I mentioned they're probably slightly overdone. That's not a problem. This has no pepper in it at all. It's just pure flavour, not quite a lot of sugar, but certainly for a family who don't like spice, this glaze is ideal. Cool. And then the final one for the spicier rack is the pineapple and heat glaze. Give it a bit of a shake. And again, same technique. We're just pouring that over the ribs. There we go, that should be enough. I always pour it at the top of the ribs, and then the sauce can naturally make its way down. I don't like to waste too much of the glaze, so I don't like it overflowing too much. Okay, so what's going to happen now, whilst the pork is resting, they'll go back onto the Traeger probably for another 15 minutes. Towards the end of that glaze setting, I'll take the pulled pork off, pull it apart, add some of that barbecue sauce, and we'll be good to go. So 6 hours later, here we are. The ribs have been sat for about 10 minutes or so just to rest, and it's time to cut. You can see nice smoke ring there. Knife needs to be sharpened a little bit. Really good bark on there, and also a really good smoke ring. So if I have a quick taste test. They're the sweet ones. I don't know, everyone's gonna love them. Onto the pulled pork. So this was resting for around 30 minutes. We've taken it out, unwrapped it, pulled it apart. It came apart really easy. As you can see, there's some really good smoke penetration on the meat. Really tastes good, and the family love it. So impressed with the meat that we had from the Meat Man. We ordered that online, that was good. Also our rubs and sauces from Gourmet Barbecue, always impressed. And we've got 2 dogs here waiting to clean up any meat that's going. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've got any questions, please just leave them in the comments and I'll try and answer them.